Yeah. About 8-10 minutes. Itar Bailey Kivu Mehem. I say the Charav. Person should he should establish himself a Rabbi, a Rav, and he should spend money on finding himself a good friend, a chaver. Also the Mishnah says that harchik mishachan ra, distance yourself from a bad neighbor, and don't be a comrade, become a comrade with a Russia, with a wicked individual. In other words, environment is something which is very, very special, and it's very penetrating. And unfortunately, there are those that are not very strong, and they find themselves in a society, in a neighborhood, in a community, where they weaken their hearts even more. It can't be overemphasized what environment means and what neighbors mean. Of course, this is addressed especially to today's generation. You must establish somebody that you can consult with, guidance, task, nature. Nowadays, the generation youth today, like I mentioned before, they say that their motto is that a younger man is always willing to give an older man the full benefit of their inexperience. They know what it's all about. They don't need a Rav, they don't need a Chaber, they don't need anything. We find that in the generation of the Mabul, of the flood, so after everything was, the entire world was covered with water, and all vegetation and animals and every living being that was outside of the ark, the teva, was destroyed, perished. So the Torah tells us, "Vayish galakim es kol hachayim, vayish galakim esnei es kol hachayim, es kol abem asher yitzei bateva." The Almighty remembered Noach and all of the animals that were with him in the ark, vayish gamayim, and it was enough. He stopped the flood. The water started to recede. What exactly? How was it written therein, and how does it come about? Why does the Torah mention that he remembers the Noach? We understand Noach was a pious, righteous individual, but all the animals, that because of them that the water should recede. What merits do animals have? We find in the Talmud several very incredible stories. We find one story. The Rabbi he made a living from renting out animals, and he would send his animal out with the one who rented, 10 coins, 10 zuzim for the day. At the end of the day, when his lease ended, when the rental period ended, the one who rented would put 10 coins into the saddle, and the donkey, the animal, or the horse, would be on the way back. One day, the one who rented it put in the 10 coins, and the animal didn't budge. And they knew by reputation that if there was more than 10, the animal wouldn't budge, and if there was less than 10, the animal wouldn't budge. So the one who rented it took out the coins from the saddle, sifted out the pebbles, and in front of the animal he counted 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Put it. The animal didn't budge. He repeated this twice or three times, and the animal didn't budge. So they started to examine more carefully the saddle. They found that a saddle for the one who rented it, which did not belong to the owner, a saddle for the rented, was inside the saddle. The animal wouldn't go off with something that doesn't belong to his owner. Talmud tells another story, the donkey of Chamor Pinchas ben Yoyer. Ben Yoyer, he was traveling with his donkey, and they stopped somewhere to lodge for the night. And the animal was hungry, the donkey. They put before him oats, barley, and he wouldn't touch it. And they knew that he was hungry, they traveled with him. So they approached Pinchas ben Yoyer, his master. He said, "Why doesn't your animal want to eat it?" He said, "There's probably something halachically wrong with the oats and the barley." Is that you? He asked him, "Is that yours?" He says, "Yeah, it belongs to me." He says, they continued questioning him, interrogating him. They found out that tithes, it was not tithes, true somebody would not take. The animal wouldn't eat it. An animal had the sensitivity, wouldn't eat it. Mar tells another story. Mar tells a story of one of the sages who someone stole his animal, and they were working with the animal. At the end of the day, they wanted to feed the animal wouldn't eat. Another day passed, the animal ate. They saw that the animal, again, he's going to perish, die from starvation. So they decided, what kind of messiah is that? What exactly did they steal? So they decided to send the animal back. So they brought the animal back, and somebody got in the conversation with the owner. They said, "Yeah, he wouldn't eat because, he belongs to me. And you're giving teeth from something that doesn't belong to me, that's stealing. He wouldn't eat it." So some Sefer says, what's the pshat? What's the meaning of these incidents? He said, this tells you how far-reaching environment is. That even an animal, if he's in the surroundings, in the sphere, in the atmosphere of a pious individual, it affects even an animal. Even an animal is affected by it, that he won't do something, take something that does not belong to him or to his owner. So much more a human being. If a human being is in an atmosphere, an environment of those that are not conducting themselves with ethics, with dignity, with integrity, there's no question about it that it rubs off on them. Creating an atmosphere is something that's very, very essential in life, very essential. I told the story before, but it's magnificent stories. It's worthwhile repeating it. There was a gentleman who used to go every night to the house of study to listen, supposedly to listen to lecture. So as soon as he would come into the study hall, he would sit himself on a crumpled seat, and he would fall right asleep. Everyone was puzzled. My goodness, he looked too well dressed to be homeless. What is he doing here? He doesn't begin to participate. Not he really even listens to a lecture, a shir. Not he sits with a chavur, with somebody else, with a Torah partner to study Torah. He goes right to sleep. But, he's not doing any harm. So they didn't. Even though their curiosity ate at them, so they let him sit there. Finally, his curiosity got the better of him, and with sensitivity, tactfully, and with diplomacy, he approached me and says, Kavalas, you mean very well. You want to come to the house of study to learn. but probably after a full day of business, the pressures of the day drains you. He said, you do yourself more good, be more beneficial. If you stayed home 1 or 2 nights, rest up, and come to the house of study when you're more rested. Why do you force yourself to come night after night like this? So I'll tell you why. Unfortunately, he says, I have no background in Torah study. He says, I wasn't brought up with my children. He says, they come home at night from the Shachol, Yeshiva, and they need someone to review their lessons with them. He says, what should I do? He says, I'll sit at home and I'll turn on the TV, I'll put on my slippers, I'll pick out my pipe or cigar. He said, what kind of environment is that? What kind of atmosphere is that for my children? So I told him, I said, I'm sorry, I said, I have to go off to the house of study. Imagine, they look at me, their father, after a full day of business when he's drained, he gets up so early in the morning and he's got the Persian business, he can't keep himself away from going to the good books, to go to sit and study. What kind of environment they're going? That's the important environment. Hashem lecharov, uknei lechalchover, l'chaber l'roshim. Chanani ben Akar shoemer, Ratz HaKadosh Baruch Hu Zaki Shesh Yisrael, L'tzikol chibur l'Torah mitzvos, Shneimar, Adonai Chavetz L'tzikol Yav Torah V'Yadir. Yiskadal Shnei Rabbi.